can we talk about those for a second? They're not officially launched. They're not officially released. You haven't written an article on them, but there's been pictures all
they
over
don't
the place.
officially exist, except they just won a PGA tournament. Yeah, so I guess they do.
What is up, everybody? How you living? No putts given. We're back. Tony's back. Tony, you were not doing so well a week ago. I'm glad to see you.
I was not.
Glad to see you on the mend. Everything good?
It's getting better, but got to bring Adam back, so that's fun.
That was a treat. That was a good time. People seem to enjoy that, but glad you're at least vertical as opposed to any other sort of Tony.
Horizontal, fetal.
Any of the other not so fun positions. How long was the PGA Tour off season this year? 20 minutes? 30 minutes? 40 minutes?
Yeah, about, I think 18 minutes is what I clocked it at. Solidly 18.
But we had tournaments and the prizes all count the same. The money still spends the same. Sahith the Gala. Been the bridesmaid plenty of times. Finally, the bride wins. Napa Fortnite Championship. By all accounts, a very popular.
The Fortnite?
Player. The Fortnite. I know every time I see that.
I'm not the only one. We're not the only one. It's just no way. Every time I see that, it's like video games has sponsored golf tournaments. It's come to that. It's only a matter of time.
Well, and let's be real. A lot of the sponsors, people have no idea who they are until, whatever. I remember it took me like 6 months to figure out what a corn fairy was. I had no idea what a corn fairy was. I just thought, well, all right, it's something. But, he's a Ping staffer, so nothing crazy, surprising looking at his bag. Other than one thing, Tony, his irons. Blueprint S, which we've seen in there. Can we talk about those for a second? They're not officially launched. They're not officially released. You haven't written an artical on them, but there's been pictures all over the place.
They don't officially exist, except they just won a PGA tournament. Yeah, so I guess they do.
So what can we? I mean, we've seen the pics. We got some pics. We could probably splice in a couple conforming list pics. There's pics across the internet and whatnot. What can we tell? What do we know without knowing?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a cavity back of some variety. So, and it looks like, just looking kind of at the top line coming around the toe, quite a bit of perimeter weighting up there. So a forgiving blueprint design is my read on what I can see.
Mm-hmm. We've also seen the Blueprint T. We've seen some pictures of that, which appears to be a very traditional, muscle back blade style.
More in line with what you would expect from Blueprint at this point.
Yeah, so and this is, again, we don't know anything officially yet, otherwise we wouldn't be pontificating, so this is conjecture, but my thinking is, Ping kind of getting into that space of, okay, we want a forged player's iron. We want it to look the part of a forged player's iron, but we know we need to offer a couple models within that space. You can't just have, and maybe that's what Blueprint kind of was, to test that out and see how people responded, but it was a more advanced blade than, again, pretty much anybody should be playing other than maybe a handful of professionals and whatever. But I think, to me, this could be a sign that it's like, hey, Ping, we want to get into the better player forward space. We want to have a muscle back. We want to have a more forgiving cavity back. Maybe not as forgiving as like I-230. So in between those two, like in between.
Because, I mean, looking at this, it's not radically different from I-230. I mean, without them side by side, it's hard to gauge scale and get that kind of view. But I get I-Series vibes from this for sure.
Mm-hmm. And if it's, if they really are going the forged route, and again, just because a club is forged, that doesn't mean it feels quote unquote good or softer or whatever. There's a lot that goes into that other than just the type of material. However, I think Ping would be going down that route perhaps because if you go all the way back to like S55s and, irons like that maybe fit kind of more of this muscle cavity or cavity back player space, they were all cast, and they did feel a little clickier, in my opinion, than at that time when you might have looked at an MP62, right, from Mizuno, or you might have looked at, some of those more kind of quintessential, my era, the 57s, right? Some of these that were kind of quintessential players, cavity back iron. I never felt like the pings felt as good, but maybe that narrative's going to change. So I don't know. I hope it does. I think that'd be really, really intriguing. It's Solheim Cup week, Tony. I love team events. I love the U.S. versus Europe. It's going to be fantastic, but the U.S. team has struggled. They've lost the last 2 in a row. They've lost 4 out of the last 6. They're going to be over in Spain, so a home game for the Euro squad. Any reason we should have hope for the U.S. team this year, Tony?
You never know. You never know.
That sounds very definitive.
I'm gonna go off on a tangent here because I'm having a hard time getting excited about the Solheim Cup, and I used to love this event, but I think the women's game has passed the Solheim Cup and left it behind. It doesn't make sense anymore.
What do you mean? Explain it. Why? Like when you say pass, it kind of left it behind.
The USA versus Europe, and that made sense in a world where all the best players, or the overwhelming majority of the best players in the women's game, lived in Europe or the United States. But that's not the case anymore. I took a look at not only the rosters of each team, and I mean, let's preface this by talking about we have the number 121 and number 122 ranked players in the women's game in what is supposed to be kind of the quintessential international competition. Right. So what's going on? And you look at the Rolex World Rankings, and I understand it's not a perfect system. No, but more than
it's directional, though. It gives you a direction of how players are playing.
More than half of the top 10 not eligible to play in this event because they're not from the USA or Europe. More than half of the top 20. Way more than half of the top 25, because when you go from 20 to 25, the players in that group are almost entirely comprised of ineligible players, and it goes on and on. You want to take it to top 30, still more than half not eligible. So I struggle with a tournament where, again, elite international competition. To me, we're getting to the point where the Solheim Cup is like the Winter Olympics without the Scandinavian countries.
Winter Olympics, if we just told Norway and Sweden to stay home, and Finland,
too, right?
Finland, stay home.
Yeah, I just look at this and I'm like, number 1, Ryu Yong-yen, nope, you can't play. Jin Yoon Ko, number 4, you can't play. Yojo Kim.
Right, if we just took out Korea,
Minji Lee, Lydia
China,
Ko, it's a long list of ineligible
Australia,
players.
New Zealand, if we just...
because the women's game has changed. The balance of power has shifted. Mm-hmm. I mean, if instead of, we're talking about can Team USA win right now? What if we shifted this competition and said, you know what? How about Team USA versus Asia?
Or Team USA, and what if it was just Team Asia versus the world? Now that could be a compelling
balance. It's a more intriguing matchup for sure. Yeah. So I mean, again, it's maybe the men's game will get to that point as well, where we no longer can get the majority of the best players, because that's what we're talking about. A minority of the best players in the world,
less than half,
competing. Right? Is what is supposed to be the signature international competition for women's golf. No, you're losing me.
Time for a revise there. I love that take on that.
It's time to change it.
All right, solve another problem for me. Just quickly. Please solve another quick problem for me. Rory, his words, called elements of slow play at the last tournament last week he was playing in, quote unquote, a shit show. I agree. I happen to agree with Rory on this one. Paul McGinley said pretty much the same thing. It's not new. It's nothing new.
No, we've talked about this before.
So 2 options. Are we either going to solve it and do something significant to try to do it? Or should we just never talk about it again because it's going to be like pollution in a big city? Like, yeah.
Let's make the tee times 25 minutes apart and hope nobody notices.
Right. Right. But is there, I guess, let me ask the question this way. Is there a solution that is so obvious that we could implement it across all tours, maybe start at the Corn Ferry or something, whatever the case is, but that's like, hey, this is a no-brainer solution. I mean, other sports and other leagues revise rules far more frequently than golf does, and they implement them right away. You can look at the pitch, right? Pitch count rule, like timing, and Major League Baseball this year. You can look at, the NFL, again, changing things with rules and where you're kicking off from and where a touchback goes to and these things. But if they felt it was better, they implement it, for right or wrong. Maybe it got 90% of the way of where they wanted to get to, but they did something to try and address the problem. Golf has done nothing.
We have talked about maybe having penalties, and sometimes less prominent golfers get dinged, but certainly, nobody good enough to compete in the equivalent of a Solheim Cup is going to catch a fine or a penalty or something like that. No, the shot.
So are they ever going to do anything about it,
no,
Tony, or should we just quit talking?
No,
about
they
it?
probably won't. I would love to see a shot clock. Everybody's on a clock. Every shot is on the clock. I'll give you one timeout per 9 holes. And even then, it's got to be like a 30-second timeout. We're not going to take a 2-minute TV break. But it's the only way, and it's no warning. It's very very firm in the interpretation. There's no maybe we're slow because just one guy in the group is slow, and that's part of the problem. They look at it at the group level,
right?
When we know who the slow players are. So if you put everybody on a clock from the time that they get to the ball. You've got, call it 30 seconds to hit the shot.
Yeah, or 45 seconds, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, pick a number, be consistent in it, and as soon as you go over that number, like you already have people with every group, so you can notify the player, hey, clock starts now, and if you don't get that shot off, zero room for interpretation. I guess maybe you can create like a delay a game penalty, or maybe you get a split second or two of wiggle room there. But after that, it's a one-shot penalty. One-shot penalty, hard stop, no more messing around.
All right. I like it. With that, there's always stuff going on at HQ, our headquarters in Yorktown, Virginia. You've heard about some of the things. I'm going to throw it over to Bennett right now. Bennett, take us behind the scenes a little bit. What has been going on back at HQ?
What up, guys? Welcome to HQ. Thanks for tossing it over, Chris. I figured I would show you guys a few things that's going on. So Philip is in the Bay. He's wrapping up wedge testing, which results should be out next Monday. And I won't say that results necessarily shocked us, but they were a first in MyGolfSpy history. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention to that. It'll be out on Monday. And also that came through the door, it's the Pro Sender. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. So Philip's also given this a test in between club testing. You've probably seen it on the tour range. Rory's been spotted using it. And honestly, training aids, they're a dime a dozen, but we wanted to see if this one was really gonna be worth it. So stay tuned for those results. No, we normally don't just have umbrellas laying around. Our friends over at Weatherman sent these over specifically for the Ryder Cup. There's actually an Arnold Palmer one back there too. Our soft goods guy is out at Nemacolin, if you guys are familiar, for the week. So once he gets back, he'll be doing some testing on these. These Ryder Cup ones are gonna be up for a giveaway on our social media, so make sure to pay attention to that. Other than that, pretty quiet, but in the transition period, we're definitely gonna have a lot of labs coming your way, so make sure to stay tuned to the homepage, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, Chris.
Bennett and team, thank you for that information. Riveting as per usual, and awesome stuff going on there. Thank you. Let's talk a little more tech, Tony. Let's talk a little bit more tech. I'm going to skip to the TaylorMade Spider Tour. First, TaylorMade came out with some new putters. Again, we're seeing more releases throughout the year, I think, than we have before. This cadence of, hey, we're going to dump everything into the market in Q1 and filter throughout the year, and then maybe, hit a niche product here or there just to kind of keep things relevant. We're seeing a different situation now. Companies are coming out with flagship product or product that's very important within specific lines throughout the year. Callaway came out with Apex Irons, right, which is a flagship franchise for Callaway, and a phenomenally good performing franchise for Callaway. Now, TaylorMade, want to call it an iconic design? You probably can. I think Dave Wolf, our putter guy, likely
I'm good with
did
that.
in
I'm
his
good with
article. I'm good with that. But new Spider Tour putters, what do we know? What do we need to know? And why now?
Why not? Why not? Like, it's kind of in a. I think golf companies have gotten better about, instead of just going, "Hey, here's January, here's everything." Let's, every few weeks, every month, whatever it happens to be, give us something new to talk about. So, 4 new spiders. I think 2 of them are new shapes. It's TaylorMade has kind of turned the spider into, and I don't mean this to sound mean, but it may come across that way, so that's a preface. But it's call it like the Mr. Potato Head of putters, where I just feel like, yeah, this is the shape, and then we've got all these kind of pieces that we can add or separate. And granted, you don't get to play with the potato head; they're doing it all in the design studio. But it really is like, all right, we're going to put some wings on this one, or we're going to narrow this one down, and just kind of move parts around and create new shapes that are still kind of all based off that kind of main spider footprint, if you will, kind of the center section of the spider.
Well, I mean, and that is the catch-22, right, of any type of, again, I'm going to call it an iconic design in the sense that if we look at the mallet putter space in the last 5-10 years, there's certain designs that have come to define that space. I would put, the Odyssey Fang, right, originally, then kind of became, the number 7. That design I would put in there. You have to put the Spider Tour mallet shape in that conversation. It's absolutely part of it. So how do you go back to that well, right, maintaining the integrity of the original design, keeping what people kind of want to see from that, but also offering them something new and fresh and maybe slightly different, without getting too, again, kind of out of balance, I guess.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. If you can do some wacky things, lab putters, for example, are notorious for doing some wacky things. Mm-hmm. But if you want mass market appeal, and I mean, by that, something that's going to give you the potential to eat up a good chunk of market share, you kind of have to color within the lines. And so that's what we see here is, how do we do lots of different things within the confines of this box that we know works? Mm-hmm. There's plenty of that with the new Spider line. So
I a little intrigued that they went with the pure roll insert. So if you look at the insert, maybe kind of a small inclusion, but there's pure roll 2, which is a little bit firmer. Dave points this out in his article too. If you haven't read that yet, I would absolutely go hop into there because he goes through the details of the different models, what's new, what's changed, where the weights are, all the different specs on the CG location.
Center of gravity locations, yeah. It's
and why, like, one of the models feels a little bit more like a blade with just a little bit more forgiveness. So it's kind of more for that person that maybe likes a blade type of feel in a putter, but could use a little extra forgiveness. That's kind of Rory's thing currently. But why not the pure roll 2? I wonder where that decision point came from, because pure roll original that's in the newest putter is just a little bit softer. I think that
sometimes you wonder, like, oh, we did this last time, let's go back to this, ping pong around. That's a curiosity for me. It's the why did you put a Paradigm teal sole plate on them? That struck me as odd. All the colors in the universe, we end up in this kind of Paradigm like teal, but
there's a billion colors in the universe, and you went with Paradigm teal. I don't know. But again, an iconic design, a big part of TaylorMade's. Just really quickly back to the kind of, you're saying, like, the product release cycle throughout the year. It used to be McDonald's, right? Fast food, fast and furious. You go to the drive-thru, boom, you got everything at once, and 15 minutes later it was all gone. And now it's kind of like eating at more of a fine dining restaurant. You get like courses throughout the year, right? It's like an 8-course meal. You got your entrees, the big ticket items, but you got this appetizer, you got a little palate cleanser over here, a little pre-dessert, post-dessert, different beverages throughout maybe, and kind of trying to keep that intrigue going, at least through the end of quarter three, right? Kind of.
You know, you can get a McDonald's cheeseburger for 50 cents today.
Well, see you later.
I mean, by the time anybody sees this, the deal will have passed. But it's today, as we're recording, National Cheeseburger Day. McDonald's cheeseburger is just 50 cents. Limit one per customer. Must be ordered through the app. Anyway.
Well,
figured you might like that.
You know, we're all being an hour anyway, so that's positive. You had a little fun experience this week, Tony. A Sugarloaf Field Club.
Let's do this.
Oh, doing a little hat switch palooza.
That's right.
Sugarloaf Field Club. Just by the name alone, I don't know if I'm going hunting, if I'm going to a field to do something, or, you know, Sugarloaf has some connotations. What on earth is Sugarloaf Field Club? And why were you there?
So, that's a good question. Who knows how I ended up there?
I mean, I don't well, whatever.
No, so the guys behind the Sugarloaf Social Club, which, you know, kind of started as a branding agency, Sugarloaf Creative Labs, and then kind of spawned into the Sugarloaf Social Club, which is just a bunch of guys who love golf and the hang and appreciate golf courses and things like that, and maybe aren't too wrapped up in the formalities of the game necessarily. So they bought a golf course, a 6-hole golf course in Whitehall, New York, which I jokingly, but maybe not without some factual merit, referred to as the meth capital of upstate New York. They bought this
Beautiful.
6-hole golf course up. It's about an hour from my house. So
Okay.
unofficial opening day was Saturday. So I went up there and just kind of hung out for the day or most of it.
So tell me, not very formal in terms of attire. Like you said, this is kind of, this is I mean, are there any kind of Goat Hill Park vibes going on there? Is it supposed to be something kind of like that? Or with the 6 holes? Like, tell me kind of what the experience is like.
Yeah, it's a super chill thing. So they've got, I think the goal is to hit about 50 members, but they see it as a place where, you know, it's not going to be tea times or things like that. It's the kind of thing where maybe you and a handful of your buddies go up and just spend a couple days and have the place to yourselves. That's kind of the whole idea. It's like, you know, you're at the facility, renting the facility, whatever it happens to be. Play as much golf as you want. Here's the 6 holes as they're laid out. Maybe you don't want to play them that way. You want to do a little cross country, play everything as a par 3, whatever you want to do it, have a good time.
Interesting.
So they're talking about maybe adding some cabins to the property, looking into the logistics of, you know, you said field, right? Maybe some opportunities to do some fishing because there's plenty of water right in there. Maybe do some skeet shooting as well.
Okay.
So it's early stages, really cool concept, but just a spot for people to go and people who love golf to go and just hang out and with other kind of like-minded people and just have a chill, fun time.
Any idea on how many people could be there at one time without kind of stepping all over each other? So it kind of has the sense to be, based on what you're saying, to have kind of like a private escape. Like I said, you know, a couple buddies, whatever the case is, you go up there a couple days, maybe you get a fish some, you do this, but you got a 6-hole course that's kind of your private course, if you will, for a couple days, and use it as now, you will.
Right now, lodging is the limiting factor, so they'll, you know, I think it'll probably start. I was talking to Ian, so it'll probably start as like glamping tents and kind of go from there and try and get some cabins on the property. But I'm ballparking. I think there are probably 50 of us there, and we were going out in groups of 6, 7, 5, whatever.
Yeah,
and just you know, nobody cared.
That's awesome.
And it was just kind of do a loop, and when you're ready for another one, do it. If you want to go out again, do it. So
anything you would compare the course to, like the actual golf part of the golf course? Is it hard? Is it easier?
I mean, it's
couple par 3s, couple, like how it's designed, I guess.
I think a couple par 3s, and I think the rest are par 4s. Don't hold me to it. It's a work in progress. The greens are absolutely beautiful. So, you know, the guys bought it and they focused on the greens first, and it is evident. I mean, just pure bent grass, just smooth
Pristine.
like butter. And you can
Oh.
see like the fairways are probably going to take a year to kind of come in and be really nice, but you can see where it's going really easily. And yeah, it's it's an interesting concept. It's kind of odd, but I was walking in from the loop I went on. I looked up in the sky, and the DJ's got like Sugar Ray playing in the background. Bald eagle flies overhead, and I was like, "Yeah,
This ain't half bad."
It's good work.
We talk about all the time how golf needs something. How are you gonna? There's so much of golf that's rooted in this, elitist, privileged kind of culture, and to be really attractive.
This ain't that.
This ain't that, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just this is for guys who love golf, not the pretense. Like if you want to wear a collared shirt and long pants, I had them on because it was supposed to be colder, and it really wasn't, so I got hosed on that. But yeah, shorts, t-shirt, whatever, man.
Yeah, playing your flip-flops or not, and
yeah,
have fun. I love that. I think that's fantastic. So, well, cool. You have to keep us updated. Keep us updated on that. Get your running shoes on, Tony. It is speed golf time. Flip your hat back. He's ready. We got our Stitch Apparel on. It's not really necessarily built for running, but if you are in the market for any new apparel,
one of the best collars in golf. Right? That seems to be. We found out today that is a hotly contested claim, but
holy cow! I saw. I don't know if
have a collar
going on or not. They had something like 3 shirts for $100 or something like that. So I get it. Not everybody's motivated by paying $100 for a shirt. I feel you. But if you could get 3 of these shirts for $100, that's kind of like stealing. And I would highly encourage anybody that's looking to try a new shirt or whatever, do so, because
is that a real deal? 3 for $100?
It was something like that. I thought I saw it out there somewhere, but we'll throw a coupon code below anyway, so you can always get something.
There'll be some kind of deal.
So get you some kind of deal, because I think that's important. All right. 60 seconds or less on each of these questions, Tony. I get this question a lot from friends, members at our course, that kind of thing. They ask me, hey, should I get clubs? If I'm looking for new clubs, should I get them now? Or should I wait until all the new stuff comes out? Because we're getting kind of close to that time, and people are starting to ask. What's your advice?
So short answer is do it now. Longer answer is this is one of those areas where golf companies do a disservice to golfers, particularly those who live in climates like ours. There's no better time to get fit than at this point in the season when you've been playing all year, you're grooved, you are who you're going to be. And so, yeah, it's I understand the enticement of waiting till January when all the new stuff hits, but then you're going to go get fit presumably after sitting on your butt all winter long. The ripple here, right, with the growth of the indoor golf world, I think we're taking less real downtime than used to. But yeah, this is, you want to get fit when you're playing a lot, and that's typically right about now.
Love that advice. The only twist I'm going to throw in there is, hey, get fit now so you know your specs, you know what it is. And if you're that person that kind of wants the best of both worlds, maybe, you get fit now, hold on to your specs, all that information. And if you know something's coming out next year that, again, the changes year over year tend not to be crazy significant. So let's just say like you were fit for, paying $425 LST. I don't think if you went with the $430 LST, you'd be like, oh, that
way
doesn't
wrong.
work anymore. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. So if you absolutely have to have the newest stuff, I agree with you. Get fit now. This is going to be your best data, your most accurate information about you. And then if you feel the need to wait, you can still do that. All right. I played an Our Member Guest this last week, and it got me thinking, Tony, what are the best and worst member guest prizes you've either received or heard of?
I think the worst, like, it was a talking point. I think one year the guys who played in a tournament got at my club got like drizzle sticks. Those like miniature umbrellas that go over your golf bag. So I think
that was unfortunate.
That was pretty bad. I don't know. Like, I would imagine if you're like at a member at a really fancy place, you'd probably get some sweet stuff. The best I've seen personally was a choice between a Vokey wedge and 3 dozen Pro V1s, something like that. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's a solid one. I think at ours they did kind of a FootJoy thing too. You could pick from like one of 4 gift packages. You could do, rain gear. You could do a pair of shoes, some gloves, and a couple pair of socks, stuff like that. Um,
Oh, man, it would be nice with like shoes. I would love.
right?
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty high dollar one to get into. They do some shoes rain gear or
It'd be
something.
worth
But
the price of entry anyway.
I'd also love to hear if anybody has like trophies, because Rob Miller time for those.
Rob Miller time. Yeah.
Texted me a picture of the trophy at his course, or former course, that the champions got this year, and what they got. It's a cool idea. I don't know that they executed it the way that they wanted to, but it's a charcuterie board, and it's like it didn't come with all of the food part, which is what I was
meat
thinking.
and cheeseless.
It was meat. It was a piece of wood, but it's a really cool looking piece of wood. Like, it's a very nicely crafted
It was
board.
milled and crafted and
it was milled,
sculpted.
forged. And it had like the inscription on there, da 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 da. But my problem with that is like, okay, do you use it then? Like, if it's a charcuterie board and it has all this engraving on it, your name, 2023 member guest champion at McGregor, Link, blah 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 blah. Do you put
hanging
stuff
on
on
the
there
wall
when people come
hanging
over?
on the wall? That's the kind of thing, like that's the perfect kind of prize, because you can, your wife's going to let you display that in the kitchen, so you can put your trophy on the wall where people can see it, and that is a rarity, because most of that stuff is like, yeah, that would look really good in a box in our closet, or maybe in the basement. So,
All right, so maybe not entirely utilitarian, but Tony says it's going to be wife or partner approved, so we will see what happens there. G4, the G.112 shoes. They came out early this year, I think, in June. We finally put them through the paces. Pass or fail for you, Tony? You're a shoe guy. You have a lot of shoe opinions.
yeah, no
Pass or
boa,
fail?
no boa, no spikes. That's a fail for me. I'm not.
Fail?
It's not my thing. I mean, I guess I can see kind of like that street casual vibe. I don't understand like decorative traction that goes halfway up the side of the shoe, like spikes hanging off. Like,
You've never had that stance where you need to dig into
no,
your
like
Achilles
if
a little
you're
bit?
if you're at the point where your ankles are twisted inward like that, and you're actually leveraging the traction provided by that part of the shoe, yeah, you got bigger problems. It's a pass for me.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a fail as well. No thanks. The street style, some of those that are kind of cool, whatever, but I just feel like G4 has started to trend more into the, hey, look at me, I'm cool space, as opposed to,
Well, here, let me
really
revert
want
back in here.
performance.
So when I was at the Sugarloaf Field Club, my buddy Ryan, he was there as well, and he had, I don't know what model they were, might have been these, I couldn't tell, but they were definitely G4s, and they were like it's really cool blue. So I absolutely loved the look of them. I was just not sure that they were, looking at the soles, maybe ideal
there's so
for
many.
golf.
So many options out there. This doesn't do anything for me personally, but hey, who knows? In our newsletter, if you haven't signed up for it, you absolutely should. Every once in a while, we throw in little tips and or tricks for you under the Golf Smarter section. Tony, what's a good one? Give us a
You can make me
good
put
one
this
here
back
today.
on. So here we go.
Yep,
so
there.
out at the Field Club event, there was a short game, little short game clinic put on by Anders Mattsson, who coaches elite juniors. That's his primary business.
And you.
And also me. Yeah, he's just got word he's got a few more. Every year he's got 2 or 3 that go to Augusta for drive chip putt finals, and that's going to be the case this year. So anyway, putting on a short game clinic, and the question was, when you get around a green, do you have a default wedge that you go to? And some people are like, yeah, I always hit this. And they're like, hey, way wrong answer. The approach here, the tip is assess the lie and then let the lie dictate the bounce or grind of the wedge. So the lie is what should be the determining factor in, we talk about the bounce and the grind, ultimately the sole shape, right? Hey, this is the lie. I need this shaped sole to handle this. And then you go from there. Next step is to consider trajectory and then distance. But everything should start with the lie and making sure that you have the appropriate tool to tackle that.
So his advice, it's not just, hey, I have a kind of one club that I use around the green for most of my shots,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
56,
Go-
56, 56, 56.
Yeah, go through a process. What's your
Yep.
process to determine that? He says start with the lie and then kind of go from there. I want to dig into that one more at some point. That's cool.
Good
We
stuff.
saw a post on the interwebs, something of, hey, coming soon. This was from Trackman Golf, which has been in the space we know for a long, long time. And any idea what it could be? Maybe we can just guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Any
I
ideas?
just saw it the other day, and it's one of those like you don't know because it used to be. I think people have gotten better, but they put these little blacked out teasers, and then you'd save it, drag it into Photoshop, lighten it all up, and you'd be like, it's right there, man. I didn't try that with the Trackman. I mean, I don't know. You're like, is this new hardware? Do we have a new software release with a groundbreaking feature of some sort, or is it
What are you
season
hoping
2 of the?
it is then? If
Oh,
you
I would love new hardware. I mean, just because I don't have a Trackman, but I would love one. I love my Foresight. I would love a Trackman. I love it all, right?
Sure.
So that's one possibility. I think we can assume, right? We know that the virtual tour that they did last year did really well for them. So
that's kind of where I was going.
suspect it's probably going to be a continuation, season 2, whatever you want to call it that, but. That would be my best guess, but I would love some new hardware or software feature.
Yeah, I agree with you on something
changes the world. No pressure, Trackman.
If you're teasing this toward the end of September, the end of a golf season, which is kind of becoming the beginning of the indoor golf season, if you will, where people start thinking maybe more about those things. And like I said, they had a phenomenally successful first run, real players, real money, playing for real, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on and in Trackman simulators. I wonder if it's something about that, I guess, is kind of where I'm going and kind of where I'm thinking. But who knows?
Oh, there's
who knows?
like
Maybe
a video here now. So
there's videos?
I don't know, though, because now I'm looking at the other teasers. No, this is something going on with the hardware for sure. Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at a post from 3 hours ago. Nope. For a new point of view, maybe a camera add-on. This looks like a camera. It does. Looks like some kind of camera thing going on.
Trackman adding a camera? Oh.
That's what it looks like.
Well, things may be getting shaken up in the enterprise grade launch monitor space. We're going to have personal launch monitor testing coming up later this week, so you'll see it on the site before.
Synchronized. Yeah, I don't know.
Before we talk about it on the show, but that's coming out Thursday. Most Wanted Wedges coming up next week, so a couple teasers in there for you. However, if you want to stick around for the after show,
this is hardware.
Tony's not paying attention anymore. He is down a rabbit hole. He is gone. We're going to keep Tony around for the after show because I got to know what he's thinking about this, plus a couple other topics that are sure to help you get better at golf in the off season. And you don't have to buy any new clubs. So stick around for that. Until next time, we out. All right, we're back. The after show. Tony is still trying to do some of his super sleuthing to figure out exactly what is going on here with something that Trackman has teased. Obviously, we're interested because, one, we're kind of tech geeks. Two, the whole launch monitor space is so interesting because, it started, man. When you started with MyGolfSpy, Tony, it was GC2. Did we even have?
Yeah, I mean GC2. That was
kind of the thing.
Yeah, I mean we definitely we started before GC2. So, but that's kind of like we were brought up in a GC2 world, I guess, and then obviously that became quad. Trackman kind of ubiquitous the entire time, and
and we use GC Quad. We've talked about this a million times, right? We use GC Quad for all of our indoor testing. It is our benchmark, again, enterprise grade launch monitor. Not everybody's interested in spending 15, 20,000 and more on a launch monitor. which totally makes sense. A lot of facilities are, or people otherwise do. But this Trackman thing has you all riled up, Tony. Why? Where did it pique your interest?
Yeah, because I think anytime, I guess we know Trackman has limitations, or there are spots where it isn't as strong as it would be in a perfect world, and that's true for every piece of hardware. And so, I kind of look at, if you look at Rapsodo, what Rapsodo did with the MLM2 Pro, where they added a camera to help them capture the spin axis, because that's there you go.
Yeah.
That has been the challenge with radar in limited flight environments, is to accurately capture that. And so, we know that that's a potential area of improvement. So if I see something like, that looks like new hardware, and wincing and trying to figure out what it is, maybe it's a camera. Like, is that what we're doing? We're going after the spin axis measurement specifically, and I don't know. This is absolutely
again
pure
100% conjecture. We don't know.
And I could be totally wrong about all of this, and it'd
be hilarious if you're 100% wrong and they're like, no, it's a software update. We got one new course. Like, oh, just kidding.
It's you can now replace the orange cover with a black one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have interchangeable covers now.
So I'm telling you, I guess, I'm kind of lifting the lid on what would get me excited about the potential for Trackman. But yeah, it looks like something new, and it's been a while, right? Everybody updates.
Definitely been a while.
So.
Well, and what's interesting too, like Trackman is, they've always been really, really, I guess, conservative in an advertising sense. Like, you don't see them putting themselves out there or spending a lot of money on commercials and tour sponsorships and things like that. And I'm not saying that a lot of launch monitor companies do, but their philosophy is very much one of, why would we do that when we could just take that money and invest it in better product? That's their mentality. That's their philosophy. Again, we've both been on record, I think, as saying there's no such thing as a perfect launch monitor. I was getting into this kind of conversation with Adam last week a little bit too. It's like, what becomes a benchmark? Like, when you have a launch monitor and you say, hey, this is 98% accurate. Well, compared to what? Like, 98% compared to what? What's 100% accurate? And is there a device or something that makes sure that the one that's 100% accurate is always 100% accurate? Like, how do we determine what is actually the most accurate? And I think these are things that, again, whether it's Trackman or people at Foresight, which is now owned by Vista.
So I'm digging through comments. So maybe some specialized indoor features. We'll see. But like I said, new hardware, always intriguing. We'll see what it is.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Now
I'm
intrigued.
People. I'm intrigued. So, and this kind of gets to my other question, which is, you can, we talk on our site, obviously, a lot about new equipment, because that's where a lot of people go. They want to buy new stuff, or they want to know when they are going to buy new, a new set of irons or new wedges. Hey, what should I get? That's awesome. But let's just say you're this person. You did all of that this year. You took all of our advice. You got fit for driver, through wedge, and a putter, and every club, all 14 clubs in your bag are as dialed in as you think they need to be or can be. And so you say, hey, going into next year, I invested in all that this year. I'm good. I got it. Now, what else could I do? If I still want to get better. I want more performance out of my entire golf game, but I can't replace a club. Other than, let's just say you have a wedge that's worn out or something like that, but you're not going to get a new club. What are 5 to 10 things that golfers could maybe do that will help them, but don't require buying any new equipment? What do you got? We'll just go back
and forth. Right? We live in a world of indoor golf. I just talked about it. Fascinating. Mm-hmm. So you can play year round now, wherever you are, or almost anywhere you are. I mean, there's a bowling alley out in BFE from me that actually has a simulator tucked in a back room that a lot of people don't even know about. So you can continue to play year round. You can stay sharp that way. You can take lessons over the winter, stay sharp. I like that.
I like that one. I like that one.
Random one, but make sure your accessories fit. So we talk about golfers wearing the wrong size glove. You and I both had this experience where, like, oh yeah, I wear this size, and we actually went in for a glove fitting at the PGA show.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't. No, you're wearing the wrong size glove, and that's true for a lot of golfers. We've actually seen comments from people. I think some of the guys who went through the Red Rooster fitting found the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it all the time where I'll be playing with somebody and the glove is like, you can see the material hanging and it's stretched to the limit, and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe you'd be better off with a glove that fit like a glove. That's where it comes from. So
there you go.
Fit like a
I
bag.
would bet more often than not to people have a glove that's too big. That was my case for sure. I ended up going with a Cadet large. I didn't even know what Cadet meant when we were getting fit. I was like, I don't understand.
It means short fingers.
Means. Yeah, it means short. So for the width of my hand, my fingers weren't long enough, basically, for that. So if you have shorter, chunky hands, basically.
Clinically deformed. I understand that.
So, but I always thought, oh yeah, I wear an XL glove, like when I go skiing or something or whatever, just because, we're big enough. But that, and again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're going to gain 7 or 8 yards off the tee if you have the correct size, fitting glove. But we're talking about every little thing that could, whether it makes you 1% better or 10% better, having a glove that fits correctly, again, it won't wear out as fast, most likely. Generally speaking, it's the only place you kind of touch the club throughout around, hopefully. It's kind of your only connection to the club. So getting that dialed in and having a consistent fit and feel, I think, is important. And alongside that, the other one I had, make sure you're replacing your grips. And or find a grip that you really, really like. And maybe that means you get 2 or 3 different grips. You put one on a wedge, one on a 6-iron, 7-iron, whatever the case is, if you're in between. But maybe play around with different sizes. A lot of people, I don't know how long ago it was, Tony, but you went to mid-size from standard. This is maybe a couple of years ago, right?
Oh, I've been mid-size for a long time.
But now you're mid-size plus 4.
I think I actually went from kind of a standard tapered grip to the plus 4 to the mid-size plus 4. So kind of skipped skipped right to non-tapered mid-size.
Okay. So once you kind of have, again, I think that's something, and then make sure that your grips are new. I mean that you're replacing them. I mean, different grip companies will tell you things every 35 rounds, whatever the case is. Because they tend to wear out slowly over time, the day-over-day change does not seem like a lot, and then you put a new grip on a club that you've used long, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much better this is. So make a plan to do that. Maybe you're doing that right now before you go into the winter season at some point, or maybe it's in the spring. I had that one on my list. What else you got, Tony?
Shoes. I guess out there playing golf in the wrong size shoes, which is another one. Everybody's like, I know what size my feet are. I thought I did too. FootJoy, shoe fitting. Wrong again.
What did you find out with that? Like, what specifically changed for you?
I was wearing it's weird. Like, they'll point to little things that they can see based on how your shoes are coming together if you wear laces. But wide. I went to wide, and then I went from a 9.5 wide to a 9. Because I was originally using width to offset, or length to offset a width problem. And so it was like going with a bigger shoe than I needed because the shoe I needed wasn't wide enough, or the shoe I had wasn't wide enough. And then it's like kind of backing your way into the right size. But I'd like to see, FootJoy. We did it again at the PGA show last year or earlier this year, I suppose. Just awesome kind of stand on a platform, have your foot laser measured in exhausting detail.
It's really cool.
These kind of things aren't readily available. So even if you think you know the right size and you feel like your shoes fit pretty well, if it could be easily checked, it would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can make a huge. I mean, to tell anybody who hasn't played with a blister, or you get the wrong. I mean, God, you don't know you have the wrong size shoes until it's too late a lot of the times, and then it's just an awful, awful experience. So you get the right size shoe. And I'd even say, yeah, digging into that, like the style of shoe. Like I've come to find out that I need a firmer shoe, kind of a more stable platform. I tend to do better with that. I think this goes back even to those, what are those, FootJoy Freestyles, the frog looking ones, one of your all-time faves. And I was lost in those things. They were too flexible for me. But for you, game on.
Still waiting for FootJoy to come back out with a Freestyle 2.0. I don't think they're sold on it. I really don't. I think it's just me.
Maybe the fact they haven't come out with one in the last 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is.
I feel like indicative. If they were going to do it, it would have happened by now.
Check your loft and lie, people. Check your loft and lie. Wasn't it Billy Horschel earlier this year that said kind of from changing companies, and it wasn't any fault of any company or whatever, but basically got into a place where his clubs, the lie was off. And so if you don't have or know what your loft and lie should be, and again, loft is going to really kind of impact distance, trajectory, spin. Lie has an awful lot to do with start direction, right? Kind of where, if it's more upright versus, more toe down, we want to get compact, more flush, and more consistent. So if you've never been fit for loft lie, absolutely. But once you, again, kind of know what that should be, I mean, if Billy Horschel can go a year or two or whatever without having the right loft and lie and not noticing, what chance do you and I have?
None. Zero. None.
Zero. So I'd say spec check that. My last one, Tony, and then you can finish up with whatever you want. We said no equipment. I purposely kind of said it that way, so not touching the 14 clubs in your bag. But if you're 100% sold on that, get fit for a golf ball. Find way.
But you said you're dialed in. You changed the rule.
I did. I said dialed in on the 14 clubs. I specifically did that to give myself an out.
Okay.
This was premeditated cheating.
I'll allow it.
Premeditated cheating. It would get thrown out in a court of law possibly, but I'm not worried about that. I say get fit for a golf ball. We're going to have way more info coming on golf balls from our ball test. We got stuff coming out this week. There are a slew of helpful hints, tips, and tricks. And if you're not finding it there, just DM Tony. He'll spend hours answering your questions. DM Tony. He would love to hear from you.
I'm canceling my Twitter account anyway. So.
X. It's called X.
Shitter.
All right. Give me one more tip. Finish this up. What do you got? What are you going to do?
I was going to say golf ball, but then I didn't think it counted because if you're dialed in and then you change a piece of then I guess if you're going to change your golf ball, my next tip would be to go get redialed in on everything because you just changed a pretty big piece of the equation. So thanks for that, Chris.
Only here to help. Only here to help. All right. Well, on that note, like I said, we got some good stuff coming up next week. Make sure if you got questions, find us, follow us on the interwebs. Tony, 2-hat Tony, 1-hat Chris at GolfSpy, C at GolfSpy T.
Pass out.
Find us again. Any questions on ball stuff? DM Tony. He would love to hear from you. Until then, be out.